Hi everyone, this is Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel. I am going to start on February in my Me album. I definitely think I'm going to have some different type of pages. I feel like I got more creative and I don't know, I feel like they're not my usual grid collage style pages. I feel like they're a little bit different this month and I'm okay with that. I had a lot of fun with these pages and I also think that there's going to be a less in the February section. So this first project is all about my sick day, and Studio Calico sent me some stamps to play with, so I am using those stamps in my project. The one that I'm going to use is about having saying no or saying yes. I forget the exact name of it, but I wanted to figure out a way to use that and document my sick day. I dug in my Studio Calico supplies for this TN Traveler's Notebook paper that says for real, and I kind of use that as my photo mat. Then I cut another piece from that same paper for the right hand side, and now I'm just kind of figuring out how I want to position everything. I thought about doing it in a column, and then I did a tilted grid, and I like that because I have a spot for a stamped phrase. I also have the title that I die cut, and I'm sorry, but I can't remember if it was a font that I just typed it out or if it was actually a digital stamp. I don't remember, but I want to put the title down at the bottom, and I have a pattern paper that I pulled out as well, but I don't think that I'm going to use that because I go back to my favorite tip or trick with using different stamps is to pull out some white paper and stamp your own custom pattern paper on the white paper. So you'll see that in a second. I first was placing various stamped phrases that I can add to my page and where I wanted those, and obviously figuring out how I wanted to lay my photos on the right hand side. So now that I have everything, I can go ahead and start placing everything down. I placed down the word sick, and I don't get out my ruler like I normally do. So I'm going to wind up having an issue with day because day is going to wind up a little bit lower than sick. And normally this wouldn't be a big deal because I usually cut I cut the title twice. So I didn't do that this time, and yeah, I had to rip it up, and then the A almost tore, and I was like, oh goodness, I don't want to have to go to the Cameo and just cut one letter. Thankfully, I was able to get it up enough, and it's not going to be as dimensional as it could be, but that's okay. It's still an A. You can still see that it's an A, and now it's a little bit straighter. And since it tore the paper a little bit, I just flipped it over. You guys saw me do that. And now I can lay down the two movie images. I woke up super, super sick on this day, and I thought about going to work, but then when I started swaying because I was so dizzy and I knew that I was running a fever, I was like, no, there's no way. So I just had a sick day. And all these phrases on this stamp set are going to work perfectly. I just stamped one over on the right-hand side in kind of that empty spot for the collage. It says no, nope, never, negative, no way. I love that. It is fantastic. I also stamped nope next to the word sick because in the for real paper, there's kind of a teal and a red, and then when I was using the the pattern paper that I had off to the side a while ago, I thought that would work well to add in some cobalt blue. But I took away that paper and still decided to use the cobalt blue and just mix it in. I don't know why, but if I could be honest with you guys, I was a little bit nervous about how I was going to bring this whole page together because I mentioned earlier, my go-to technique is to take the white paper and stamp a bunch of phrases and then punch out shapes. You can see I'm starting to do that here, but I haven't done it in such a long time. So I was just like, I don't know why, but I was like, is this coming together? Am I gonna like this? In the end, I like how it came out. I like how it's unique, and I like how I made it my own and used this stamp set in my own unique way. So I stamped how about no, and I also stamped the X, I stamped that several times, and I also stamped the no that's kind of in a block. And then after I get done stamping all these different sentiments, I am going to punch them out with my circle shape and add them throughout the spread, and also pop dot a few of them. I also wanted to add the cobalt blue with a phrase that says, "It's a no for me." And what I do is I stagger the way that I stamp, so that way when I'm stamping, it kind of looks like a real pattern paper. And also when I'm punching the shape, I make sure that I punch it and it has different pieces of the phrase on it, if that makes sense. So I'm just using my 1-inch circle punch. It's easy. It just keeps things simple. I don't need to have a million shape punches. And I just try to get a variety, like I said, and I'm going to put some over where my cat was sleeping, and definitely did not get a picture of myself on my sick day, but I did get one comfy on the couch with my cat. So there's going to be a good cluster right there, one in the top right corner, and then one over in the bottom where the day is. I will wind up covering up the 2 stamped X's. You can see I just placed down some circles. I'm going to cover up those X's just because I wanted one other spot to have some circles, and just that way there is plenty of movement along my page. So lots of different circles with all the different sentiments, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but I am pop dotting a few of them. So a few of them I'm just flipping them over and going to leave them flipped over, so that way I can add the foam adhesive. And then I'm going to do a really fun little tedious but worth it trick with a different stamp from a different stamp set. So I will do that in just a little bit. But for right now, building those clusters, and I really love how it just adds, like I said, something unique. So I really wanted some little tiny stamp that I could stamp in black throughout the page. That way it's just something that would be really eye-catching, and I felt like my stamp clusters could use it, and it is something I do all the time, adding in little stamping with my Ali Edwards projects. So what I did is I took a really tiny XO and I stamped just the X on my sick day. And it turned out fantastic. I love it. Felt very smart thinking of that idea, but I love it, and it turned out wonderful. So I grabbed the binder, and then I was about ready to put it in, be like, woo, I'm done. And then I forgot that I had needed to add the journaling. And as usual, I draw my certain amount of lines, and I wind up writing more than I think that I am gonna need. I think that's how you say it. I write more than I think I'm gonna write. But I wanted to talk about how I was just feeling really sick, and I hadn't had a sick day in a really long time. I wound up watching 2 movies. Like, I couldn't even read a book. I just wanted to zone out with TV, which is when you know that I am really not feeling great. So I got all of that in there, and then just said I had to take care of myself. So there you go. That is that fun page. And now I'm going to move on to a February page about what I was making. Well, kind of like an overview. I did one similar in January, talking about what I was making, and like a collage of the photos in January. But for February, I decided to just use these photos I took of my space on one particular day, and then in the journaling, do an overview of what I worked on throughout the month, or, during that time frame that these photos were taken. I also wanted to try something, again, a different design. I had this idea to take the 4x6 made for this card, put one piece on the left, another piece on the right, and then my photos, which are like 3x2, put those in the middle, and down below I could use another 4x6 card as my title. And you saw me trim that card down, and now I have make down at the bottom. So I have a couple different shots of my area, one kind of the overview of my area with the lights, then one of my desk, and another one of my counter space. I also have 2, I didn't realize I had 2, of my floor with my December daily mess, and I decided not to use that photo and just use 3. I also am going to try out using one of these rubber pieces. I don't know what they're called, but to me they seem rubbery and they're very thick. But I figured, you know what? I am just going to use that. And then I have a really fun stamp set from Syncopation Designs that I'm using along with this page. And the stamp set from Jennifer's shop is called Made with Love. I will link that in the description box. But I really love it. It's fantastic. It has lots of great mix of different types of stamped images for various hobbies like scrapbooking, planning. It has yarn and stitching. It's just a great one. So I placed my journaling cards tilted onto the side. So I'm just going to I trimmed those, you can see those, and then I just trimmed the photo in the middle in half. And you guys, I did not realize that the photo I accidentally picked up was the one of the mess on the floor. And I don't think I'm going to realize this right away, at least for not a minute or so, maybe right now. Yes, right now is when I realized it because I noticed that both of the photos had fireplaces in them, and then it kind of clicked that, wait, this is the wrong photo. So I kind of peeled up that photo. I didn't want it. I wanted the one of my desk shot. So I just had to glue that desk shot photo down and then cut it in half again, because like I said, I don't know, I felt like the desk photo worked a lot better for what I was trying to do. And so I have to just grab the trimmer again, trim it, and then I can continue on with my various steps. I will say that the made for this, I wish I had just scooted it over just a smidge, because once I go to trim it over on the left-hand side, the M kind of gets cut off in a weird way that, I don't know. You can still tell it says made for this, but if only I could have just cut it just a smidge. Because I could have definitely scooted it over to lay on the photo a little bit more, but I didn't. So I've got my stamp set, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp some different images on the top of the photos and below the photos. Just something different and really fun. I love how it turned out. It's so fun and so cool. So I stamped She's So Crafty, handmade. Both of those word phrases are in cursive, which I love. There's also a stamp phrase that says up all night scrapbooking, a journal, an adhesive roller, washi tape, a button, a sticker, and then I stacked some phrases, maker and joy. Once I got to kind of the middle, you can see I kind of paused, free stamping, I guess you could say, and planned out where some of my stamps were going to go and which ones would fit for the middle. So that's why I picked out the journal and the button. I didn't need all the stamps to be tightly squished together, but I wanted to make sure that I would have a nice row of stamps and not that big of a gap, if that makes sense. I also love that she includes a star because, again, it's like that little detail stamping that I like. It just adds a little extra oomph, I guess you could say. I love it. So I added that in, and to the bottom I did a stack of albums and the washi tape and also a sticker. So now what I'm going to do is grab a bunch of Tombos and a scratch piece of paper and figure out how I want to color these and with what colors. So I picked this kind of, I almost want to say like a sage color, but no, it's more like foam green. But anyways, it matched the color of made for this really nicely. But then I decided to use it on the stamp that says up all night scrapbooking. Probably should have used that somewhere else because I feel like it was too dark for that particular stamp, but that's okay. Then I'm going to color in the little journal green, some of the albums green. I also color the washi tape like a really almost super bright blue, which is so fun to get out these Tombos and use them for something other than my journaling. And coloring in my stamps is not something I've done in a while, so I figured why not? I'm having a lot of fun in my journal with my Tombos. Well, I can't live without my Tombos in my journal. I love them, and they help bring everything together. Because while I can stamp in my journal, it's not my go-to. My go-to is definitely my pens. So I'm just going through my stack of Tombos right here to kind of fill in where the different colors are going to go and making sure I kind of balance out things with where I'm placing the different colors that I have. I kept the buttons one same color, and since the sticker was a sun, I kind of kept that a orangey yellow color. Love how the planner is like a bright green. I also put a button and a star down in the bottom corner of the make, so just add a little bit of stamping right there. And I'm finishing up with a little bit more of the coloring, and then I will go on to the journaling. And for the journaling, I just went to my Instagram stories, because usually when I post like, you know, my creative space or share it in Instagram stories, I'll usually write a little something or I'll have something in the post. So I just looked in my Instagram stories archives and found a post and took screenshots of those so that way I could write about what was going on in my space. Used the red line tape to make sure I adhered down that little bucket of supplies. So for the journaling on the left-hand side, I just said, hello, February. I'm starting off the month by finishing December daily and putting away all the supplies. I continue to have piles everywhere, but I so enjoy weekend creating more than figuring out messes. I also said I started out with some happy mail with 3 new stamp sets from Jennifer at Syncopation Designs. So that's kind of the overview. And then over on the right-hand side for the made for this, I did more of a bullet point list of what I was working on at the time. I said I was working on a me page with the Always Tired kit, reading journal pages, and always loving the journaling time that I get with my Hobonichi and just finding my groove with that, and making 6x8 Project Life spreads. So just a great little list of everything that I was working on during that time period, and bonus points because I remembered to add in the date. So that is what I have for February pages. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I would love a thumbs up or a subscribe if you are new to my channel. All right, have a great day. Bye.